Hi, everybody. It is time. Time to be authentic, time to be real, and time to say what is on your mind. Right now is time for Thinking Out Loud. I'm your host, Arizona Lowe, and with me is the gorgeous, wonderful co-host, Rain Dow. Hi, Rain.
Hi, great to be here. Thanks, Arizona.
You're welcome. And this week we're continuing our conversation about challenges with special guest Katrina Pfannkuch. Hi, Katrina. How are you?
I'm great, Arizona. Thank you so much for inviting me here today, and it's always great to spend time with you and Rain. I really have fun.
We really enjoy spending time with you too. And when we were having our discussion earlier this week, I realized that we both are in Colorado. Have you been
hmm
enjoying this fabulous weather we're having?
Oh, it's been such a really, really great, I mean, not to be cliche, but breath of fresh air. Just to get outside, smell that warmth, and just kind of sense how the earth is different, like how it just smells different outside when it's warm, and it's been great. How about you? Have you been out at all, kind of getting out there, doing some hiking or something?
Haven't been able to get any hiking done yet, but yeah, spent some time outside in the backyard. We're planning on building a deck out back. So,
Nice.
today was a beautiful day for that. And I think you talk about that fresh air. I think it's the snow. The
hmm
recent snowfall that cleans out the air for us.
Yeah, and my kitties get a little sad when it snows because they can't go outside, but they've been psyched today because they can get a little outside paw time. It's warming up enough.
That's cool. How about you, Rain? How's your weather been?
It's been really, really good, actually. Warm. We did have a little bit of snowfall last night, but it was they were the most beautiful light snowflakes. So that when you woke up in the morning, these little light snowflakes covered everything, every branch on every tree. So it was white everywhere. It was just beautiful,
Oh,
and then it melted throughout the day. So yeah, it was really nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, so this week we're going to delve further into our conversation that we had last week on challenges and um, based kind of on a couple of questions. Rain, you want to share those questions that we got from the
Yeah.
audience last week?
For sure, yeah, because they basically inspired this show, so we really want to recognize them and thank them. I don't know if you can pin that or not, Arizona,
Yeah,
but
it's a
awesome. That's Debbie Forand saying, it's the thought of failing at that challenge that gets me every time, sometimes to the point of not facing it at all and running the other way. Wish I would not do that. So that was a really, really good point, Debbie. We wanted to thank you so much for that, and it inspired this show, so thank you again. So that's why we love any kind of comments or questions anybody has from the audience, because it inspires further conversation and delving into things more, because these are all things that when we think about them a little bit more, they really help us. So also, Christina Redding is saying her biggest challenge is finding and maintaining enthusiasm in the face of a sense of the great futility of it all that tends to send her into retreat. Um, so she says, so many creative challenges I've taken on that came to naught in the end, and it becomes harder and harder to invest myself in new ones. So these are really, really good comments. And again, Christina and Debbie, we want to thank you so much for leaving them in the comment stream from last week's show. And we're hoping, Christina, we can kind of delve into this and learn some new things.
well, on Christine's comment. She talks about the great futility of it all, and I think that is based on our expectations. What do you think about how we set our internal and external expectations, Katrina?
That is such a great point to make, not only just because you sort of delved that out of what she shared, but I think it's a lot of what each of us face pretty much every day. You're making that change or that choice based on, okay, is this internally what I want or what I think I should want? Or is this an external thing that I think I should do because it'll get me someplace? And you have to have a really good sense of self when making these kinds of decisions, because that's what leads you to sort of bump against these challenges. And then when you do run into a challenge, you can say, okay, this was more of an internal thing. I know it's a sticking point for me. It's something that I want to work through versus it's something that's expected outside of you. And that'll allow you to sort of shift the perspective around that challenge a little bit more effectively. So you're like, I want to do this for myself. And that in and of itself can sometimes be the motivation to want to continue to work through it. And I think from the external part, I know that there's a lot of outside pressures. So I'm sure we can get talking into a little bit more about that, because I think that's a loaded one.
Well, I think on the internal ones, I think a lot of those are built from false beliefs. We all have these false beliefs that are given to us on a silver platter when we're kids, be they true or not true. Would you agree with that, Katrina?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we all grew up in a different kind of family. We all were taught how to identify with our own self-worth in a different way, and some of us really never got that validation that who we were was enough. So if you're carrying those pieces with you in life now, they do become a challenge when you're trying to work around a different type of commitment or a different type of thing that's out of your comfort zone, because you don't want to stay where you're safe. And if you haven't really ever had that space where you feel safe, challenges can feel more threatening, right? They can feel more threatening than they would be normally because you just aren't sure how to work around them. You don't have that internal confidence to know that you're worthy and you are able to work through whatever. You just have to believe in yourself. So that I definitely think that all of those things influence how we grow up and turn around to look at the challenges that we face when we're older.
Interesting. So if that's the case, Katrina, this is a kind of a question from off in left field, if that's okay, or
sure.
Because so many of us didn't receive validation when we were kids, right? Mm-hmm. So what are the little things we can do with regards to our creativity that will kind of open that up for us, so that it's not about external validation, that it's more about our own validation?
Mm-hmm. It is a great question, and I think what's so powerful about that question is that even really simple things can help you move forward with that. Like we were just talking about nature, for example, in the beginning of this show. For me, when I'm outside, I can just recenter my energy in a way that the other pieces of life don't matter. And it sort of brings me back within to focus on what's important to me. And I think whenever you can find something small like that and do that every day, that really kind of gets the well pumping a little bit more. For some people, it's running. For other people, it's actually working on crafts, doing those whatever we consider or define as creative things. Some people, it's cooking. And, I know we talked a little bit of that in our meeting as well. Like, there's just a lot of little things that you can do that if you feel that you're good at them, it helps you sort of build that bubbly momentum of, yeah, okay, this is something I'm good at. And it takes your mind off of things for a while, reminds you of what it's like to feel in the flow. But it is a choice. That is, I think it's the choice more so than the task or the action that really kind of moves you in that direction. So if even if you can spend 5 minutes a day that you're like, hey, this is all I can spare, but this is time for me. I'm going to spend this time and dedicate it to something that's really important to me. That kind of sets the stage for that consistency for you to do it all the time. Because, let's face it, we're busy people. We don't always have time to fit in all the wonderful things we'd love to do and create or build, et cetera, and still run a business. So it's really up to you to make that choice to do that 5 minutes, even if I think it's a good opportunity.
Well, and then, okay, so this is a question out of left field that we haven't discussed either.
Sure.
A lot of times we end up saying yes to so many other people that we don't have time to say yes to ourselves and to our own creativity. So is it okay, in your opinion, to say no to others when they need your help?
Mm-hmm. I love this question. I absolutely love this question for so many reasons. It's, it gives you an opportunity to learn how to put yourself first. And by that, I mean, when someone's asking you and then you commit, you can make that choice to say, how does this feel? Because even though your mind wants to commit because you don't want to let other people down, you want to help them or support them or maybe further your career, whatever those reasons are, it helps to be able to start to feel into what it's like to say yes and no. And, you know, a lot of us don't want to let other people down, but I think it's important to be our best self and your strongest self. And in those moments, I think it's even more challenging when people have committed and then turn around and change their mind. Even when it's best for them, they feel even worse, right? So get clear first on, hey, I really want to do this because it feels good. It feels like something that resonates with me. And don't be afraid to say, hey, I need a couple days to think about it. You know,
and
that's important.
Which is an interesting point, being afraid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're afraid to say no. We're afraid of letting people down. We're afraid they won't be our friends anymore if we say no. And it's all based on fear, false evidence appearing real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the end, if you think about it, what valuable part of you is showing up as a friend if your heart isn't in it and you don't really want to be there 100%? That you're not really necessarily showing up as the friend that you can be. Whereas if you waited a week or two and then maybe reconnected with them, then you're in a much better place and you can actually show up as the friend that you are or commit in the way that you can be there and be fully present.
And not be resentful.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think ultimately, you know, I'll just use online as an example. It's easy to commit to say, hey, I'm going to go to 10 HOAs this week, right? In reality, you may get to 2. And you might even listen to maybe one of them on replay. There's a lot to look at and there's a lot to be engaged in. But it's up to you to sort of set that pace and realize that if you change your mind, if something comes up, that it really is in your best interest to do what's best for you. And believe me, this is something that I've had to learn too. I didn't wake up one day and say, I'm only going to do stuff that's best for me. It was a learning process for sure. But I learned that by realizing, you know, I'm not bringing my full energy and full presence unless I'm making choices that are right for me too. And that's a process.
Yeah, I know that, well, from the way I was raised and from talking to a lot of people in my generation, I hear this a lot, that we're raised not to, oh, you have to, all your time needs to be spent doing for others. You're selfish if you're not, you know, and it's taken me a long time to unlearn the fact, you know, that, and there's a good word, unlearn.
Yep.
The fact that I'm not being selfish, I'm actually being the opposite if I spend some time to myself.
Yeah, well, and also, you know, the fact that I do feel that the generations before us were really instilled with busy is better, right? But if you spend 15 minutes meditating, it's not that you aren't busy, you're just using your time in a different way that's focused inward versus externally. So it's really important to make that distinction. You know, you don't necessarily have to kick off and watch 3 hours of TV to say, hey, this is time for myself, but it's really about unlearning those behaviors, like you had said, that maybe don't feel natural to you. They were taught to you and you mimic them, but they don't really resonate with you, and realizing what those are. And that is an awareness that takes place as you make those choices, right? You can make that big commitment like, I'm going to write all these New Year's resolutions, because people do that. But, you know, realistically, it feels much more natural to say, hey, you know, now that I'm into February, this doesn't work anymore for me. This is feeling sticky. This is feeling kind of draining. And to me, I always come back to how it makes me feel, because that's how I'm able to make a better decision. My mind can tell me all day what it thinks it can do, but to me, I have to feel into it to really know what the truth is and what I really want to do.
I really like that, because that was actually one of the reasons why I took Karen's challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Was because there have been other challenges, there's been other things, but I was like, you know what, her challenge is based on writing more, because she talked a lot about how she wanted to write more, mm-hmm. and her own content. And I thought, that's really good, because yeah, I've been curating, like, I love curating content. There's so much great information out there. So I love curating content and learning more, but I was like, that's something I haven't delved into yet. So I was like, I really like that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of, and sharing your loves. I just thought, how you can't go wrong. I mean, it's perfect, right? And it kind of worked like that. And then there was a little bit of that, you know, well, what's everybody else gonna post, and you know, but it, you know, so, and then once I kind of thought, the community's not about that. It's just about sharing what it is that you're trying to do. And if somebody likes it, great. If somebody doesn't, that's okay too. They don't have to look at it or anything like that. And it's more, to me, it felt more like a creative endeavor that you can do for yourself. And I really, really liked that part of it. And it was like, and yeah, it takes time. Yeah, it takes effort. Yeah, it's, you know, you're using different brain cells than normal. So that's always a stretch, but it's actually felt really, really good to just to go off and do it, and there's no expectations. It's just a different way of creating something, and it's been really, really cool. It's been really cool. I've really liked it, and just wanted to mention we have Miss Karen Chin in the audience here.
Yay!
I'm glad you're here, Karen. She's saying you need to take care of yourself first, set your priorities to be able to help others, but don't overextend yourself. It can actually hurt your reputation and your brand if you overextend yourself.
That's very true.
That's a really good.
Yes,
that's a really good point. And we've got Michael Thomas out in the audience. Nice to see you, Michael. And Dennis Deuce, nice to see you. And let's see, I'm just kind of scrolling through here. Robin Love, she's out there. Nice to see you, Robin. And Elaine left us a comment. She can't be with us live, but we're thanks for leaving us a comment. And Alvin Lamb, nice to see you, Alvin. And Tammy Cook, her infectious enthusiasm. We love you, Tammy. And yeah, so sorry, I just wanted to give some shout outs to people out there and thank them.
That's great. No, I just want, before I lose the point that you had made, I just want to jump on that really quick, because a lot of times we try to look at our creativity as our aptitude, right? So we're creative in this thing because we're really good at it. Where really what creativity is exactly what you explained. It's taking something that you already have an interest in and a passion for and some skill, right? If it doesn't necessarily have to include skill, but it can, and sort of walking with that into a different space with it, and really inviting in the unknown about how all those pieces are going to come together. You know, creativity is in the unknown, not just what you already know how to do. And so that's why this exercise you're talking about is fantastic, because you're able to blend those pieces in a way that feels good. Doesn't mean it's not a little scary and doesn't have expectations like you explained, but you know, even as a writer, you guys know I write my blog posts twice a week. I mean, I've been writing for years, but it doesn't necessarily mean that those blog posts always flow really easily. I write the drafts and then I sit with them and I play with it, and there's always that work involved, even if you feel like there's something that's a talent for you. So we all run across challenges, even in what's easy and what hasn't come to pass just yet.
It's really interesting. I have heard a lot of people talking, they join talent and creativity almost as if they're the same thing, and they're not.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, to me, creativity is, what are you making in this moment? What are you creating in this moment? It's part of who you are and what you know, and it's part of how are you reacting in the present. And so maybe not necessarily everyone has that view of creativity, but that's what that means to me. It's why people face creative blocks, because a lot of times it's the mental space, or maybe it's the spiritual imbalance. There's an imbalance in that space. It's not about their aptitude as much as it is about their mindset.
Very cool. Now I just wanted to kind of flow from there into because when we were talking in a pre-production meeting, Arizona, I had seen a beautiful is it a painting or it's an ink sketch, right?
This
Arizona?
one? Are you talking about
No,
this
not
one?
that one.
Oh,
no, that one's stepping out. I love that one.
No,
This other one.
It's an ink sketch.
The ink sketch, yeah. And I asked Arizona, did you want to screen share that, Arizona?
Sure. Just give me a second.
I asked Arizona because I saw this somewhere on a different HOA, and I just thought it was amazing. And
there it is.
We get to see lots of. Oh wow! Love that.
And what's that one called? You might have to pin yourself, Arizona. What's that one called again?
This 7-line dancer. I did this one for, yeah. So you got me pinning myself, and now I'm, yeah. I did this crazy screen. That's a creative moment there. And I did this one. It was auditioned. It was auctioned off for a shelter for abused women.
Okay. And it's absolutely beautiful. Like I fell in love when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just so beautiful. Yet, Arizona, when I asked you, you said there are some pieces I would never sell, and I thought you meant that it meant so much to you, like you just, you adored it so much you would never sell it. Did you want to stop screen sharing, Arizona?
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
Awesome.
There we go.
And I was wondering where if that's what you meant by you wouldn't sell it, but you said no because you didn't think it was very good. And I asked where it was. Tell us where you have that particular piece hanging. Tell us.
And my bedroom is set up really weird. So we have a bed, the bedroom area. Then we actually have a little hallway that goes into a big walk-in closet. It isn't, and we have the dresser in the hallway. It isn't that tight hallway, hidden away.
where virtually nobody can see it.
Oh, nobody can except him and I. Nobody can.
No.
But
and so
it's just like this one. This is one I would never sell either because it just didn't come out, the way I intended, or the way I pictured, or it didn't meet my expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, those expectations definitely do take a toll on what you're willing to share, right? So you have these beautiful creative expressions that people are missing out on, even though these are part of your natural gifts, because your expectations aren't allowing you to either feel comfortable with the accolades that are coming in for them, or because they don't meet the expectations, you already kind of created the space in between that makes it not good enough, right? It's what happens to all of us. We all do that in some way with our stuff. So what a great example, and thank you for being willing to share that too, because that's not always easy to do when you're putting your stuff out there. And just so you know, I love the name of the painting too. It just perfectly fits with the picture of the dancer. Because it's made with 7 lines, yes?
Yeah, 7 lines. That was a challenge. It actually began as a challenge to create an image of something you dream of doing in 7 lines.
It's gorgeous.
So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you guys bring up a good point about challenges too. Like, is the motivation of having to do something every day gonna be there, or is it draining or motivating, I guess, is really what I wanted to kind of throw out there. I think that sometimes we feel that obligation, like, oh, I've committed to do this for 30 days. How does that feel? You're gonna have some resistance, but does that necessarily mean you shouldn't do it? Right? It's more about how do you open up to that. So I'm curious what you ladies think about that too.
I think if it becomes too draining, then maybe that's something that says that you step into more something maybe you didn't have the time to commit to. But I do think that there's a certain amount of just having to push yourself. There's always parts of any creative endeavor that you kind of struggle with. And so I think sometimes you have to push yourself. That's my take. What about you, Rain?
Well, I think you have to kind of look at where you're at, and evaluate where your time is and what to me what feels more important for your own growth at the moment, and what's doable. When I found out about the 28-day challenge and the writing piece and that type of thing, and just how things seem to be working for me these days, where things flow, one thing flows into another. There's no stop or start. They just kind of all flow into each other. And I thought, well, this would be a really cool experiment to see how this all kind of flows and works like that. And also, I get to challenge myself more and do some more writing and see what that brings up. So it's been, I mean, it, you know, you can take as little or as long to do it as you want, really, you know. So because I wanted mine to, you know, I wanted there actually to try to have build, you know, pull up some substance as to what it is I'm writing about, whether it's remembering something or whatever it is. It's taken me a little bit longer, but those are things that I'll you know, that I think about when I'm, you know, on a walk during the day, you know, getting some fresh air, or, you know, if in the morning after I've done some meditation, sometimes things just pop into your head, you know, like when you clear everything completely out of it, sometimes things that you really want to know or whatever just pop right in. So it's, I found it to be really, really wonderful. You know, and like I say though, it depends on the amount of time you have and where you're at in your growth and what you want to do with that. For me, it just was just like a perfect fit. It just worked out really great. Having said that, I will probably be up till I don't know when putting in today's post.
I'm still playing catch up on it. Are you kidding? I'm doing the 2 posts. 1 post equals 2 days thing.
Yeah, coffee's a food.
Okay, so I know we're going to run over tonight, and I apologize to the audience ahead of time, but this is too interesting of a conversation to ditch. So we get into this box, and it's our comfort zone. Are there any steps that you could recommend to someone to help them step out of that comfort zone, to help them think outside the box?
Yes. Ultimately, it's, can you commit at least to setting aside that 10 or 15 minutes every day so that you're actually taking the time to tune in to how you feel, because the feeling is what's going to lead you to what's right for you. I do definitely think that having a collaborator or someone that you can talk to about where you're feeling challenged can help a lot. And not necessarily your sister just because she's your sister, but a person that actually understands where you're coming from and can actively reflect back to you sort of what's happening in a non-judgmental way. I think that's overlooked quite a bit, not necessarily because we don't want to talk with people, but we just maybe don't necessarily find the best people to help us with that piece and to get out of our comfort zone. I wouldn't necessarily say just trying everything, but if you do feel that there's one particular challenge that's really hard for you, be willing to put yourself out on the line and actually try it. Just try it. Not a million of them, but just one. And I think that can kind of give you that motivation, but at the same time not have too much fear overwhelming you. Just get your feet in the water. I would say that those 3 things are the easiest to start.
Yeah, I really, really agree with you, Katrina, when you were saying if there's someone who's unbiased that you can run it by, because so many times, and it, you know, it could even be somebody that you think might be unbiased, but sometimes other people will put that box around you. And you maybe haven't put the box around you at all, but other people will try to put you in a box. Just, you know, because you need to fit with what they think. So trying to find an individual that doesn't think like that and doesn't need to put you in a box for whatever their reasons are. That's really, really important. That's really, really important, because that having that to bounce somebody off who's not invested in you having to be a certain way and is totally fine with whichever way you are wanting to grow or go or whatever way. That's a really, really good point, Katrina. Yeah.
That can be very helpful. It's very powerful.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we had Joyce Dickens in the audience, and she's saying thank you for extending the show. You're welcome, Joyce. So how do you recommend dealing with, I mean, we all have, I say we all have, that's probably an incorrect statement. Many people have expectations built on how people are going to respond externally to whatever they put out there. You know, we were talking about this with the 28-day challenge, and I kind of think maybe this may be a little bit where Christine was coming at with her comment, is, you know, you put something out there and you get 2 comments, and you put something out, you know, and somebody else put something out there and they got 102 comments, and all of a sudden you go from feeling, oh, this was awesome, to feeling about that big. And I think that's because, you know, we're basing our feelings, or, you know, if you end up in that situation, you're basing your feelings on the external. So how do you get around that?
Yeah, that is a meaty question, because that is going to be a little bit of the training that you need to do on yourself, right? It's catching yourself when you do it. That's first and foremost. Forgiving yourself when you do it, because we're gonna do it, right? And be willing to actually put yourself out there anyway. You know, there's a lot of really terrible things on reality TV that a lot of people watch. Just because a lot of people are watching them doesn't necessarily mean it's better than what you're creating, right? Perspective. Maybe a lot of people resonate with that person's particular piece because it's something they're going through in their life right now. It's topical. There could be a million reasons why someone else's post gets more likes or shares than yours does. But the most important part is to remember that what you're creating is really for you, and the external likes and shares, that's just like the cherry on top, really, because you've already created what the most important part is from the inside of you, and that takes practice. Like this, everything that we're talking about today takes patience and practice. You're not going to wake up one day and all of a sudden be different, because you're a human and you need time to evolve and change. So it's just that noticing that you are when you're doing it, and forgiving yourself for it, and continuing, having the courage to continue to put it out there anyway, all go a long way in helping with that. But it is a process.
Yeah, I think I really identify with the fact that, you know, you said the creativity part of it is the most important part. And I think it's really important that we remember that.
Yep.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Tim Longwell out in the audience here.
Yay,
and pin up his comment, because he's got a good one. Challenges are teasers to get out of your own comfort zone and small box. It is normal to fear stepping out of our own or others' box and labels. Going beyond that is how we grow and expand our horizons. So thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much. And you know what, though? Sometimes when you do things like that, sometimes it's good stuff that comes back, and sometimes it's you know, it can kind of, you know, make you kind of go like this, because I remember I was taking a creative writing course, and we were just, you know, we would just go once a week, and it was somebody's home, and we would share what we were working on. And I was working on a story, and the main character was, I think the main character was a young girl. And after I had been working on it for 2 weeks, I decided to change the character to a male. When I went to the next creative writing, it really upset a couple of people in the group, because you have to read, and because at times it would say he, and at times it would say she. So it was kind of, because I hadn't done the spell check, the search and replace very well. But I found it really, really interesting how their reaction to this. Like, they were so concentrated on what the gender was of this character that it was so important, you know. And it was really, really interesting to get that feedback, because it was like, wow, that's really interesting. And to me, it didn't really reflect anything about the writing or anything. It more reflected about what their viewpoints were, where they were sitting with things, type of thing, right? So
Exactly.
I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind too. And I mean, they were not ready for something like that.
You basically gave them a transgender character and they didn't know how to handle it after that.
Apparently, I don't know. But
it is funny though, like, well, how great that you saw how locked in they were. Like, they were in a box about how they thought your writing should be.
Well, and to me, it wasn't really so much how they thought. I didn't view it as how they thought my writing should be. I viewed it as, this is how they feel about themselves. You know, this is how they are. Do you know what I mean? Because
right,
typically a lot of us will. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that it all ties in together, right? Like, they have their expectations, which tie into how they feel, right? And what reflects about them. That's what's so cool about it. It's all a loop.
Yeah, and it was a really cool learning experience. I mean, it was really interesting. I was like, that's fascinating. You know, so.
Do you write with them anymore? Are you still part of the group?
Oh, that was a few years ago, and I've taken other courses since. So yeah, that's sort of kind of one of the things that I've kind of, you know, I tend to be leaning now. I love the creative writing pieces, but there's also to me something very grounding about writing from true experience. So.
Well, writing from true experience too is it's very freeing, I find. Mm-hmm. And especially when you're putting it out there.
Yeah, taking that next step. Exactly, Arizona. Taking that next step and saying, yep, I wrote it, now I'm actually going to let people read it. It's going to go out in the world. You know, those are two different steps for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, so we're now almost 10 minutes over, Arizona. I don't know how much time Katrina has. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, we could wrap it up.
I'm happy to chat for as long as I do not have a date at the moment. So yes, you're happy to chat if you guys want to keep chatting.
Karen Chin said, thanks, Rain Dow, for the shout out, and glad you're enjoying my 28 Days of Love challenge. Yes, you can put tons of hours or just work on the daily challenge for 15 minutes per day. When you enjoy working on something, time becomes relative, especially when you're getting great learnings. And there's definitely truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you have any last minute words for us and great insight for us, Karen?
Katrina, yeah.
Oh, Katrina, I'm sorry. I'll take it, Karen Ted again.
Karen can certainly contribute to the comments if she's got some lovely last words too. I mean, I don't want to hold her back from writing something. I would say that when it comes to a challenge, the more that you can feel into what it means for you, the better. You know, is this challenge? Am I just doing this challenge because I feel like I need to push myself? Am I doing this challenge because I know this is going to grow a part of me that I've been wanting to grow for a long time? And really kind of feeling into what that is. Doing a challenge for challenge's sake, maybe that's not a fit for you, but for some people that works. It's just the better that you know yourself and you can take on those challenges and just be open to actually doing it. If you can step around that initial fear response and really sit with it, you'll get the truth of whether it's a challenge that you want to take or not.
And I have to, I love this one. I discovered this years ago, is fear equals false evidence at peer and real. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so whenever I get fearful, of taking a step, especially a creative step, I try to step back and do a little meditation and calm down and try to determine exactly why I'm feeling that fear.
Mm-hmm. It's really important. Because if we always went with the fear first, we wouldn't get any further than where we're at this point. So sometimes life pushes us and doesn't give us a choice. But when you do have that option, it's really nice to be able to sit with it and really tune into what that means for you, for sure.
Yep. Rain, you got any last minute thoughts?
Well, I just want to thank both of you so much. This has been fantastic, and the audience. It's been really cool learning. And I'm gonna go. I don't normally watch shows that I've been on afterward because it's just weird to me. So, but I'm gonna watch this again because there's been some really, really great points made here, and I want to thank you guys so much and the audience so much. And I want to give us all a big round of applause.
Yes, you ladies are so fun. Honestly, the time flew, and I know everyone always says that when they're on NHOA, but this was great, and I feel so lucky to be able to spend some time with you both today.
I feel incredibly lucky and blessed to be able to spend time with y'all today, both of you. So I guess I'd like to remind the audience that the show is brought to you by Today's Visions, where the indies are celebrated and promoted and supported in any way that we possibly can. So please take a couple minutes and go out and look at todaysvisions.com. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think we're at a good stopping point, yeah.
I think so.
Yes.
So everyone have a wonderful Friday night, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.